So hello guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video, and I've been playing The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom for a little while now. I'm on my second dungeon, because I believe you can do, like, dungeons in different orders, so I think there's, like, some that you have to do, like, towards the beginning, but I'm at the one in Gerudo Desert, and then I've, of course, done, like, the first dungeon and everything, but Echoes of Wisdom is just really fun. I really like the new mechanics here, and the echo mechanic is way better than I was expecting it to be. I mean, I was already excited about it, because I did think it looked very promising, but there always was that slim chance where it didn't really click with me. But I'm glad to say that it absolutely did click with me, and I absolutely am sold on it, because it's really fun. And it definitely elevates this game quite a lot as a top-down Zelda game, and I feel like it's way more intuitive than I thought it was. I mean, I feel like it's to be expected from Nintendo to have like a weird, wacky new system, and to also have it be very intuitive as well. But I'm very surprised by this, because like it's really out there for like even for like modern Zelda standards. Because I mean, like, you're like creating like a bunch of like clones of different objects, and it's just super wacky and crazy, and like I really appreciate that. There was definitely a chance this wouldn't have worked out, so I'm glad that it is, and I'm glad that it's just really fun and definitely kind of improves this game. And with things like puzzles, I think the puzzles are designed really well. Like, there's obviously multiple solutions around getting through different areas, and it almost feels like traversing the map kind of feels like a puzzle, because there's different areas where there's different structures and kind of features that you have to get over. And then there's also like a lot of different rooms and a lot of caves and little dungeons and things. And then there's the main dungeons as well, but that's a different story. But like, all throughout the game, it feels like there's like little puzzles that you kind of have to solve using the resources that you have. And it's just really fun. And another thing about the Echoes that I kind of like is that they kind of feel like a new version of the traditional Zelda items. They don't feel like something that's out of place for Zelda, which I was kind of worried about. Like, with the Echoes thing and not primarily using a sword, I was a little concerned that this wasn't exactly going to feel like a Zelda game, but I still feel like it really still feels like a Zelda game. Like, it doesn't necessarily stray away from that too far, besides from like not having like a traditional sword and shield like you have with Link. But having the echoes, I feel like it kind of does still feel like certain items you would have in like the traditional top-down Zelda games and things, and you gain them in like somewhat similar ways to how you would gain like items. Like, I mean, sure, there are many more echoes than there were like items in other Zelda games, but like the way you unlock these echoes kind of helps you get through the dungeon, and it really feels like the dungeons actually feel like traditional dungeons now. I mean, sure, you can like cheese certain parts of them, or like there's a like I mean, the whole point of this game is the cheese through different areas. I mean, it was kind of designed around that. But I still feel like the dungeons do kind of have that a similar appeal to like the older Zelda games, to where you'd have to like figure out different solutions and gain new abilities to get through different areas. So it still kind of does have that, even though it does feel a little different. I feel like it's the perfect compromise, honestly. Like, it kind of combines that traditional top-down Zelda with a lot of the ideas from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I really like the fact that it kind of feels like this, because I like a lot of the features in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and Tears of the Kingdom is my favorite Zelda game. Yeah, I know that's a very basic pick for one, but I like it for a lot of the same reasons that I like Echoes of Wisdom. Like, a lot of the unique mechanics that it has are pretty fun. But with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like it does kind of stray away from both traditional 3D Zelda and just like the traditional Zelda style overall. So it's great to see a game that kind of proves that a lot of the elements from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom can coexist with things like traditional dungeon design and just the overall feel of like older Zelda games. Like in another thing that I just kind of like moving on into like another thing, is the fact that I really like how this feels kind of, it's still, despite the fact that it does all of these new crazy things, it still feels like a fairly condensed experience. And I appreciate that. Like, I feel like top-down Zelda should feel kind of condensed like that. Like, have like a heavy emphasis on like puzzles and action in certain areas. But at the same time, it feels both condensed and very open at the same time. I feel like that's a feeling that I really appreciate from top-down Zelda. Like, the original Zelda game kind of felt like that to a degree. So I'm glad they kind of keep that general feel where it's not, like, super open to the point where the world feels empty. No, the world still feels very, like, full and compact, while also being very large at the same time. And this is definitely a pretty large world for top-down Zelda. It's definitely, I would say it's probably one of the biggest maps out of all of them, I would say. So, like, because it's like 8 times the size of Link's Awakening. And I have mentioned that before in a previous video, but I think it is worth mentioning here because, like, it definitely feels a lot larger as well. But I'm glad that it still feels very full as well. And also the fact that you play as Zelda is really cool too. And it kind of ties in with the story, and the story is pretty interesting, like with the rifts. And also the fact that you go into the rifts to like do the dungeons and different things. And there's also like little platforming sections too, which are like pretty interesting. It kind of combines like platforming with like the puzzle elements of the echoes, and it's pretty fun. But like it's very mysterious, the story here. And I think it's pretty interesting. I like when stories in games are like very like unclear and mysterious, and you kind of piece together what's happening over time. And that's kind of what this game does. I know like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom also do that as well. And I feel like this game is kind of doing that, but also doing like kind of handling it from a little different angle. Like, I feel like they're focusing on different aspects of it, and it kind of feels like it's kind of combining some of the story elements from like things like Link's Awakening and Link to the Past, like a similar feel to that. And yeah, I just really appreciate it overall. And like once again, like the fact that you play as Zelda is really cool and definitely a change of pace. Like a lot of the character interactions would be a little different than in games where you play as Link. So I think that's very nice. And one final thing is that I've actually noticed like a decent like amount of differences from Link's Awakening, like between, well, other than the obvious in terms of like gameplay and things. Because like I feel like a lot of like the progression and like just the world layout actually feels surprisingly different from Link's Awakening, and I'm glad that it is kind of having its own identity. I mean, obviously, it definitely is still built off of the Link's Awakening remake, and it still carries over many of those aspects, like the 2D, like side-scrolling sections, the overall physics of the game, and the visual style. Like, a lot of that is carried over from Link's Awakening, but I feel like the layout and different things feels like surprisingly different, I would say. I was expecting it to be a lot closer to Link's Awakening, but I'm kind of glad. I'd be a pleasant surprise, because I am glad that it does feel different, and it does feel more unique. But yeah, anyways, Echoes of Wisdom is just very fun so far. Honestly, the only problem that I have with it is the performance, because I feel like there are some frame drops. It's not horrible. I would say it's slightly better than the Link's Awakening remake, but I could definitely understand the concerns for it, and that's mostly from what I've seen from most people, is the fact that, like, performance, like, isn't a huge issue, but it would have been nice if it was slightly better and it was more consistent. But yeah. Also, one final thing that I forgot to mention is the combat. And some people are saying that the combat is kind of weird and that they don't really like it. I mean, I can definitely understand that, because I feel like it makes sense for people to expect, like, kind of more of the sword-based combat of, like, previous top-down Zelda games. But I feel like the echoes actually feel surprisingly fun in combat. It kind of feels like Pikmin to a degree, because you kind of have to strategize, like, different placements and different enemies and things to, or echoes of enemies to use on certain enemies. Like, it kind of feels like Pikmin in a way. It's very interesting. And that's kind of why I like it. Like, it still has that, like, fun element there. It feels very strategic. It's like, kind of, it's fun in a different way from, like, combat in previous top-down Zelda games. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Echoes of Wisdom. I am really enjoying it so far, and I can't wait to continue playing. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.